Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We are brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. I'm Justin Barrientos, joined as always by head coach Tom Sawyer. And a difficult one this week, but we kind of knew that coming in. It was the number 5 team in the country. We were saying in the broadcast booth coming into the game that if there was any time to play the number 5 team in the country, this might have been it, because they had just lost their starting quarterback, who was also their leading rusher, but they didn't skip a beat in putting their backup in the game.
No, you're exactly right. We knew what we knew we had our hands full. We needed to play a very clean game, and we didn't. We didn't play well, and we played against a very good team. That's a bad combination. But yeah, the quarterback that came in, the Barchak kid that came in, was also their third leading rusher.
Yeah.
So he also played a lot. So we knew we knew that they weren't going to take any steps back. But yeah, it was a difficult weekend for us. We struggled to move the ball offensively. Of course, they are the third-ranked defense in the country. But at the same time, we just couldn't find any offensive rhythm. And we still had opportunities. And if you take out, a couple bad miscues, which is a block punt for a touchdown,
right,
and and a fumble on a reverse play that it hits, there's nobody out there. It doesn't. They touch it. They get it on the one. That's 14 points, and we lose by 20. So you look at how it all happened. It was just a day of miscues for us, and it was somewhat embarrassing because we felt like we were ready, and I just think we were disjointed from the start, and you can't do that against great teams.
I want to get to all of that in this segment as much as time allows, but let's start. Is there one that leads into another? Is it the fact that Duluth ran this option offense that you guys really couldn't solve on defense? You talk about the miscues. If one of those doesn't work, is it a different game?
I think yeah, if we don't turn the ball over like that, I think it's a huge different game. We even had the ball back, scored a touchdown, got it to 13 with with over 6 minutes left in the game, and we were on a roll, and that was our momentum. And we talk about momentum. We've talked about it here before, but the momentum is huge in these games. And when you're at home, we finally got the momentum to our side, and then we had 2 15-yard penalties back to back that we all of a sudden were kicking off from the 10 after a touchdown. So it really was a mental miscue day for us as well as the physical side, but. Absolutely, and we knew they were going to run some yards. That's what they do, but they didn't have any really big runs. And then we had really 3 or 4 plays that went off our guys' hands. We dropped the ball. Owen didn't play great. It was just an inch here or there, and it's a whole different game. So can we play at that level with them? Absolutely. When you look at the final score, it's like, oh, what happened to you? But within the game, as you watched it and talked about it throughout the whole game, we were all just off, like a half a bubble off the whole day. And it started from the beginning of the game. We kind of felt it even in the pregame that we weren't just quite right. And the weather didn't play a big factor. Everybody asked, oh, it was windy. Well, it was windy for them too.
Right.
So didn't play enough of a factor to make any excuses. They were just better than us that day.
I don't like to pick on people or single out anybody, but you kind of have to when you're the quarterback. So
I thought you were going to pick on me.
No.
Because I'm an easy target.
We'll do that a little later. But for Owen, it just seemed like he was off on his passes, kind of overthrowing some of the receivers, leading them maybe a different way. How do you fix something like that? Is that just nerves in playing Minnesota Duluth?
Yeah, it was. Part of it was nerves. He got hit early, and I think that the wind did probably affect him a little bit, kind of sticking up for him a little bit. But he's also the quarterback of a Division II team. He's in his 2nd year, actually 3rd year here. So we expect him to play better, and he will again. He'll recover. He's fine. He's very well supported within the team. So when you take out really a couple sacks early, or some hits on him early, and then you take a couple drops. Those drops heal his confidence in a hurry. Yeah. He overthrows a couple balls. You make one of those hits. Those are 3 touchdowns that you don't get. And so that, again, affects his confidence. Then he started getting a little nervous. Then we had to start throwing it more. And once you do that, teams just tee off on you like they did. And it's kind of a snowball down the hill kind of a deal. But for him, he's going to be fine. He's a tough kid. He's mature. He's going to be fine, and he'll be ready to go this week.
Let me ask you about the reverse that you talked about. That happened in the 1st quarter, and it seemed at that point that's when the momentum really shifted in Minnesota Duluth's favor, because then they get the ball. Tanner Gran injured on the play.
Yep.
Give us a little update on Tanner, and then kind of the backlash from that play.
Yeah, first I'll talk about the play, because the play I thought was a great play. We worked on it all week. It wasn't something we just threw in there, and we had it set up. The whole thing was all right. What happened is it's a domino effect, Justin. So the left tackle, Carter Berlin, was just a little bit slow, so the guy penetrated just a little bit. Max Mueller pulled, was a little bit slow, bumped into that before he kicked out the guy who knocked the ball down. So it's a domino effect. He was a little slow. He didn't quite get there. Eric was pitching the ball at the same time. I mean, all of those things took place to become a disaster. And so that was that play. But you start looking at how that affects your momentum. I mean, if he gets the ball, he might have been gone for a 90-yard touchdown. I mean, that's the difference of a 1 inch. If that kid doesn't touch the football, it's the difference of them going in and us going in.
And then Tanner Grand, as we said, was injured on that play?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Tanner Grand went to try to tackle the kid and did a sweep tackle and actually had a compound fracture in his arm and dislocated his thumb on the same thing. And he's our leading touchdown guy. So he's out for the rest of the year. And we also lost our fullback, Jack DeGroot, is out too. So he's probably got a possible knee injury as well. So it's kind of continuing. And now that'll be 11 guys that we've lost throughout the year. So a couple we've gotten back.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's just one of those years where we're trying to just keep our guys well and get into the off season. But we still got a lot of football to play.
Yeah, we'll address that at the end of the show, as we usually do when we talk about the Southwest game. Let's talk about the rushing game. You look at the stats and you see 5 yards rushing, although that's a little misleading because you have to factor in the yards you lose on sacks and yards you lose on tackle for losses. What was it about Minnesota Duluth's defense, and we knew they were a top rushing defense, what was it about their defense that you just couldn't find any holes in?
Yeah, they're just fast. The two inside guys on the defensive line are very physical, and I think our inexperience showed a little bit in that game. But they're a fast football team. They're downhill. They're going to play man cover, and there's 9 guys in the box. So most times you're playing against 8. That safeties on both sides were down on top of us at the line of scrimmage. So you just have that extra man there all the time. And so our play action pass, which wasn't hitting, that kind of stuff creates a problem. We're trying to establish, some ground game, enough for them to have us be able to throw the ball more effectively, and it just didn't pan out. Now they're only giving up 70 yards a game against everybody, and it was no different today. So we got an average game from Duluth. We just didn't do anything exceptional to overcome that. All
right, let's talk about maybe some of the positives in this. You had a nice touchdown pass to Greg Rooney. It was tipped. He was able to get it in the end zone. Maybe talk a little bit about that play.
Yeah, a little trick play we put in. We run a little wildcat with a backup quarterback, actually, that's now playing receiver for us, and he's a redshirt freshman. Big 6'5" kid from Chautauqua, Wisconsin. But we ran it in with him a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and now this one was the complimentary play to Greg. It's a little run forward and jump pass, and you've seen it around football for years. Except he saw him wide open, so he just kind of threw it to him. That's why it was wide open. But those are the kind of things that we're just trying to take advantage, get young kids on the field, and use kids' weapons that they have.
And then Isaiah Franzen had another 100-yard receiving game, so you're able to get the ball to him in the game.
Yeah, and we missed him twice down the sideline. One guy was just holding him, and we didn't get the call. But Owen just gassed up a couple, but he could have had 2 or 3 more. But he's an exceptional athlete, and he played well in that particular game, blocked well. He had the one incident where he got a 15-yard penalty after a touchdown, but nonetheless, he was our player of the week on offense, and he shows up in big games, and we got to have him do that again this week.
All right, you mentioned the penalty there, and then there was another 15-yard penalty that happened. I know that's something that you want to clean up because that's been an issue throughout the season. What do you do now between now and the Southwest game to kind of clean that up?
Well, yeah, I'm going to be the principal. We've been working out, we've been teaching mental toughness, we've been talking about the effects that those kind of penalties have on your team, on the momentum. Like you said, we score a touchdown, we come within 13 points, we're in the game, we got momentum, and we're kicking off from the 10. Yeah. Luckily, we held them all the way back to the other 30, but all of that has a factor in the game. Talking to an opponent, talking to an official, talking to a coach, there just isn't any place for it in sport. And so our young guys are trying to, and not all young guys, but our guys are really frustrated, and that's what's happening. So being the principal, we have any kids that are talking back or really fighting with each other, or talking smack to each other, I'm just going to dismiss them from practice. And in the game, I'm going to dismiss them from the game. So we're at that point where it's got to be addressed. We're going to play some hardball with these young kids and teach some lessons the hard way. But at the end of the day, I don't think I'll have to worry about it at all because they got the message.
All right, and then just to kind of wrap up some of the things that went wrong during the game, Michael Russell's punt that was blocked, I think he came into the game with 1 blocked punt in his entire career here at Winona State. None this season, 1 I think early on in his career. What happened on that play?
Well, again, it's a domino effect. The guy was right in the middle of the field. We had 2 guys assigned to him. The first guy kind of went across his body which he's supposed to, but he's supposed to hit him along the way. It went clean. The guy comes clean. The second guy, the second line of defense back there, went to the left instead of to the right and didn't see him, and he had a clean shot. There was no chance. So we freed up the guy when we should have had 4 hands on him. And it's just, again, it's the little things, it's mental mistakes that end up to be big physical mistakes, and the kid took it all the way in. So, yeah, Mike's been doing a great job. Obviously, he hurts his average and everything else, you know, and where I think he's 3rd in the league right now, where he was leading going in. So we hope to get him. It'd be really neat for Mike to go from a walk-on kid to leading the league in punting, which I think that he is the best punter in the league right now.
All right, last question then on defense. What were some of the things that you saw from your defense that you liked in the game against Duluth?
Yeah, we played hard. Isaiah Hall did come back and play. He's got bruised ribs real back, had a collarbone that was all smashed up a couple weeks ago. So he was back, played exceptional. I think that our overall front played very well. Cole Liberty, that I mentioned earlier, is a really, really good player up front. He dominated the inside run game. When they got outside, it was a little tougher for us, but they're playing at a high level. Mike Ferrante played very well again. So our upper class kids in the defensive front really played well.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll get the player perspective when we talk with redshirt freshman Colin Klatt. That's coming up right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
Stay up to date with Winona Area Public Schools by watching Making the Grade here on HBC TV 25, presented by Cost Cutters. Join me, Superintendent Rich Dahman, each month for interviews with administrators, district staff, and students. Tune in to Making the Grade Monday through Friday here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona, located in the professional building in the Winona Mall Annex.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill, and I guess this is the future week as we talk to a couple of redshirt freshmen that are joining the team starting next year as players. Colin Klatt joins us. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your high school career at Cedar Falls. Tell us maybe what some of the highlights were for your high school career.
Oh, definitely finishing my senior year out 9-2, taking a loss in the semifinals, but we still were able to earn that trophy and earn another playoff berth for my team, even though the previous year we didn't even make the playoffs. So that was an awesome experience. Also just being able to play with the great talent that I had going through high school. A lot of the guys who are also playing college ball. And it's awesome to see them succeeding and to see them doing great things with their lives.
And I imagine the Iowa Shrine Bowl, that had to be a pretty big highlight for you.
That was honestly one of the best weeks of my life, being able to see those kids and the way they reacted to seeing the athletes. And the camp was something I'll never forget, and just the stories that I heard from parents and just the courage and just everything that they had to offer with their kids. It was awesome.
Now, just to kind of talk about it, I mean, there's a football game too, but that's really a small part because I think you spend a week or so, and then you work with the Shrine Hospital.
So basically the week is laid out. We have some fun, we have practice, of course, and then on the Saturday, or I think it was Friday before the game, they have all the Shriner kids come down, and they had especially a lot of kids from Iowa, and there are still parents that I still talk to on Facebook and stuff like that about their kids, and we're actually planning on getting a bunch of the Shrine alumni together and going to a birthday party for one of the kids this year.
Nice.
You know, we go back to in the recruiting process, we started talking to you a long time ago, and of course now you're here, but one of the common factors we have in our Warrior legacy really is David Braun, and he's a coach at UNI, and I know that was another one of your big choices, kind of UNI and us, and it was a Winona State guy or Winona State guy. How much of effect do you think that had in just the way that Dave was, because he's been on this show many times in the past, but and now to see you here, and how did that play out for you?
Well, the first time I actually heard about Winona State was from David Braun. I went to a junior day at UNI, and I remember talking to him. I remember asking him, well, where'd you go to college? And he goes, Winona State. And I'm like, well, where's that? And I did my research and I followed a couple of coaches on Twitter and started getting recruited, and I've just fell in love with it ever since my first visit.
You know, I'll talk again a little bit about the class that we brought in. You know, we got 2 of them here, but we brought 43 new freshmen in last year,
yeah.
and it's an unbelievable group, and we talk about it every day. But it's also the first time when we went to full scholarship allotment for our conference and for Division II, and how important is your role now with that first group of the new kids we have, and what we're looking forward to in the future?
The role I'm trying to establish is just being a leader for everyone, just trying to show them the right way to do that. You have to go to lifting, and you have to go to class, and you have to establish yourself as more than just an athlete. And there have been a bunch of other guys that have stepped up in that role, and it's just been awesome to see that our class is really developing together, and it's more of a brotherhood, if anything, now. Yeah,
and the last question I have, Justin, is that, you know, just talking about that group in general, the parents are involved, but really, what has really been the big thing for you in the Winona State program right now that you look forward to the most?
I look forward to a very successful future. With the group that we have right now, I can feel that we can do great things, including a national championship.
Okay.
I tend to ask this question a lot when we bring in people, especially when they're going through the redshirt freshman year or they get to their first year of playing, and ask them about their year, just because it's different for everybody. What is it like for you after having a successful high school career to now kind of have a year where you're not on the field? I was going to say year off, but it's not really a year off. But talk about what it's like to be going into practice every day, and then on game day you have to stand on the sidelines.
It is very different. It's kind of like starting high school over again as the grunt freshmen who have to go out there and get their butts kicked all the time on scout team. But it's something that you have to go through, and it's part of being on this team, is that you have to go from being that grunt to earning your way to the top.
All right, and then last question that I have for you is that I understand that teaching might be in your future. That's something that you're kind of working at Cedar Falls, maybe. Tell us a little bit about your experience at Cedar Falls going into classrooms.
Well, I did the CAPS Association, which was a class optional in my high school. It was an awesome experience, just being able to go into classrooms and be with kids and help kids learn the ways that I learned, because growing up I wasn't always good at learning. I'm still not. And so I went in there and I told them that you're just as normal as everyone else, like you're going to be fine, and even if you have to learn a little slower, you have to read a little slower, or maybe you may stumble on your words a little bit, you are just fine.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us here today, and good luck in your Warrior career.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're going to take a break here on Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, Peyton Dashel will join us right after this.
Elevate your HBC TV experience with the latest technology to hit your whole home entertainment system. Record up to 6 programs simultaneously and save up to 350 hours of your favorite shows. Pause a program you're watching in one room and pick right up where you left off in another. Video on demand, wireless set-top boxes and mobile device streaming, apps including Alexa, Netflix, YouTube, and more. Call 888-474-9995 to learn more, or visit hbci.com/elevate today. With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We are brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill, and now Peyton Dachel. Sorry for getting your name wrong at the end of that last, but thank you for joining us here today. Tell us a little bit about your high school career in Bloomer. You're a multiple sport athlete, and you could have gone basketball, chose football. What was the thing that tipped you into the football direction?
I guess just being out there with all your friends. I mean, practices obviously with Bloomer. Just a small community together. In basketball, I mean, it's just a little different. There's a couple select people, but being with 11-year buddies, closest buddies, football, that's just the way to go for me.
All right, now one of the reasons why you could have gone basketball is you're your school's all-time leading scorer. Tell us about that day when you broke the record. I saw a video that Coach handed you the ball and you went up into the stands. Maybe didn't want to, maybe just wanted to keep playing the game, but tell us about that moment.
That was a moment I'll never forget. That'll stick with me forever. It was just to be able to be there with all my friends, and the place is packed, and to be able to do it in front of my parents too, that was one of the biggest things for me. And to have them, so much time they've put in with me, and for basketball, football, track and field, you name it, just doing it for them, and it was just a really fun moment.
And your dad had a pretty outstanding basketball career too as well.
He did, yeah. I mean, I got everything from him. That's where it came from.
All right.
Well, I have nightmares about Bloomer High School from when I played against them in Barron.
Yes.
We're from the heart of the North and part of the Great North. But I want to talk about the relationship from, coming from that conference like I did, but coming down to Winona and how that transition has really been for you as an incoming freshman.
Right. I mean, going from the smaller city up north, I mean, it was a little different, but then coming down here, just you got so many more people. The bond down here, just people like yourself there, just the coaches, they're in it for you. And as a high school player, you obviously have all the coaches you know around town, and everybody knows everybody. But coming down here to a new community, everybody just bonded, just felt like home.
We were talking with Colin just a little bit about the team stuff and bonding, but let's talk about the football just a little bit. And you're an offensive lineman, and we have some giants like you on the offensive line that we brought in. How important is it to mesh that group together now as a freshman on the offensive line?
For sure. Us six, I mean, we have a great group. All the guys just can't complain about one of them. We're just getting closer and closer as the year goes on, and I just think up front's where it really starts for a lot of things, and I think that's important that we have a bond together, that we can stick together and be as good as we can be.
You look at on Sundays we have some scrimmages, not every Sunday, but we had one again this weekend. How important are those scrimmages for you guys to keep that competitive edge?
I think that's a big part for us. I mean, we get to go out there and put our best into it. We had a whole week of practice going against the older guys, and we can finally just go out there and have fun on Sundays and compete our butts off.
The last one I have is another kid from the local area up in Chautauqua, is Cole of Liberty, and you get to play against a guy like him and Mike Ferrante, an all-conference player. Playing against that level every single day in practice, how has that affected your development?
It's definitely made me a better player. I mean, from footwork to hand position, they're giving me their best moves every play, and I'm just going to learn off that. It's just going to help me in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, you talk about you're playing on Sundays, but let's go to Saturdays, and kind of the same question I asked Colin. What is it like to have been a multiple sport athlete in high school, and now you come and you can't play quite yet? You practice, you do all the scrimmages and everything, but you have to stand on the sidelines on Saturdays. What's that like?
It's one of those things, I mean, like Colin said, you got to go through the process. You bite your tongue, but like I said, we get to find a way to enjoy it. You know what I mean? We're with all our redshirt buddies. We're out there yelling, hooting, hollering. I mean, you got to make some fun of it, and I enjoy it, though.
Let's talk about the recruiting process, because these last couple of weeks now we've seen a lot of recruits on the sidelines. You get to go to a game, you get to see what things are like. Can you kind of explain what it was like for you in the process coming here to Winona State?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I toured a couple schools, got around, and when Winona came, or Coach Claw, Coach Barton, they called me up, texted me, came to my school. Just the way they had the culture here, and I mean the winning culture, the way they treat you down here, it's just one of those things that came down here and felt like home right away.
All right, and how do you kind of assert yourself into the Warrior lineup? I mean, how do you find your place as a redshirt freshman?
I guess for right now, redshirt season, I'm just trying to give the defense the best look I can in the scout team. I mean, I love all the upperclassmen, Colin Valley, Max Mueller, Carter Berlin. Those guys have taught me so much throughout the year as the offensive line. I'm just taking everything they can process, and I'm going to try and learn as much as I can.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here today, and
Appreciate
good luck in
it.
your career.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll talk about the opponent, Southwest Minnesota State this week, Battle for the Sledge. That's coming up right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. All right, we mentioned injuries. Let's start the segment with injuries, because I know that there's been a lot of them. We heard about Tanner Grand, we heard about Jack DeGroot. How else are you health-wise coming into the Southwest game?
Well, you take those 2 guys as starters all year. Take those guys out. It's just another notch. And the good thing is in the fullback position is Jalen Schleicher is really playing well, and he's a redshirt freshman, but he's a big, strong kid at 6'6", 255 pounds. So he's now getting more and more game experience. So I keep talking about the silver lining because I know it's coming, but it's really hard to get there. But our kids are ready to play. There's no quit in them or anything like that. But more importantly is these young kids are getting valuable experience, and that position is critical to our offense. And he's been playing a bunch. Jalen has the last couple weeks. And I think with Tanner Grant, he's our leading touchdown guy right now. But we do have a good group of receivers, very good. We need to get Will Clausen and Elliott back in a little bit more involved, along with Isaiah and Tyler Anderson and a couple other kids, Itor Flood. So we got a whole bunch of these kids right now that are going to get another opportunity when one guy goes down. A couple more are ready to go. So I don't think it'll have any effect on our offensive output with those two guys. Unfortunately, it's just the experience and playing with them all year, and all of a sudden they're gone. Right. That'll be a little bit different. But our kids are pretty well prepared. You
mentioned that Isaiah Hall came back, and I think towards the end of the game you put him in as a kick returner, but you really didn't want to do that. You want him to kind of heal up a little bit, right?
Yeah, he's hurt, but he's playing. I think pound for pound, he's the toughest guy we got, and there's no question about that. But yeah, he was, he's a game changer in the kick return. So I felt when we needed him the most, we had to have him, and that was the time when I finally put him back there. He did get the return, but it was a sky kick, so it didn't really affect it too much. But yeah, we needed him to cover people, and he was on number 5 the whole day, and the Nate Ritchie kid, and so he had a big job to do, and that was more important than the kick return because we have kids that can also do that, but not everybody can cover Nate Ritchie. So right. I thought he did a nice job against him as well.
All right, so the opponent this week, Southwest Minnesota State. As we said, it's a special game, battle for the Sledge. How do you match up this week against Southwest?
I think pretty good. I should have brought the Sledge in. Last year I brought the Sledge, but no, it's cool to have a trophy like that to play for. We've had it now the last couple of years. But we talk about, they have a couple offensive stars, and Blake Gimble, a quarterback, is very, very good. And he's from Marshalltown, Iowa, but he's very good. He's in his 5th or 6th year. He's been around a while. But they also have a good running back. So we've got to keep them off the field. Our offense needs to have another big day. And we talked about how frustrating we were earlier in the day, earlier in the show about our offense. We need a big day. We need to be able to have balance in our offense. If we do that, we keep Blake Gimble and his buddies off the field, it gives us a much better chance for success.
All right, and this is going to be your 2nd consecutive home game, and then you have one more coming up at the end of the year. How important is it to have this game at home this week?
Well, they're all so important because, everything around the university has put so much effort into our game day stuff, and it's recruiting and it's being home and all of those things. It gives our parents an opportunity to keep coming back to Winona and share their time here instead of meeting someplace on the road. And even with our trip to Augie here in another week, that's not a bad trip either, just 4 hours. But to have home games is critical. We had 6 of them this year. It's great for our program. We're doing some fundraising, and all those things help when you're in front of people and they see the kind of product we put out on the field and you see the kind of kids we have in our program. So all of that matters when it comes to development of our total program.
And it's going to be a whiteout this weekend if anybody's going to be at the game?
Yeah, it's going to be a whiteout. We're going to wear all white. I've sent like 15 notes to Southwest just in case as they remember. But more importantly, yeah, it's a chance for the students to be more involved and dress up a little bit. It's kind of Halloween time, and so a lot of fun time. Hope the weather cooperates with us. Doesn't look great right now, but we'll be out there nonetheless. But no, it's fun. We're trying to create an environment for all people to be involved, and a whiteout is one of those kind of deals.
Hopefully we don't see any white on the field, as we kind of saw at the beginning of last Saturday against Minnesota Duluth. Thankfully it held off. Your luncheons are coming up this week.
Yeah, Thursday luncheons are always great. We've had a great crowd there each week. Please join us at noon at the Riverport Hotel, and it's been a lot of fun. And these two guys will probably be joining me over there as well, and talk about our future of Winona State football.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and good luck this week against Southwest.
Thank you, Justin.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll see you next week here on HBC TV 25.